I did not change my life in 1 year. I changed the direction of my life in just 1 week. That sentence sounds impossible at first. Most people believe real change takes months, sometimes years. They think success arrives after massive effort, endless motivation, or a perfect plan. Yet something surprising happens when small habits quietly begin working in the background. A few tiny changes repeated every day can slowly reshape the way a person thinks, works, feels, and even sees the world. The strange part is that many people miss this because they keep searching for dramatic transformations while ignoring the small actions that silently change everything. There is a hidden truth about personal growth that very few people talk about. Studies on behavior and psychology have shown that the brain responds faster to repeated actions than most people expect. Tiny habits influence energy, focus, confidence, and emotional control in ways that feel almost invisible at first. Then suddenly, one day, things feel different. Stress becomes easier to handle. Decisions feel clearer. Productivity starts improving. The mind feels lighter. The scary part is that most people spend years waiting for motivation before taking action, while motivation itself comes and goes like bad weather. For a long time, life felt stuck. Days started blending together. Motivation disappeared without warning. Overthinking became louder than progress. Hours vanished scrolling through meaningless content while important goals stayed exactly where they were. Many people quietly experience the same cycle every single day, waking up tired, feeling busy but moving nowhere, wanting better habits but struggling to stay consistent. The frustration grows because deep down there is always that feeling that life could be better. Then something unexpected happened. A simple realization changed everything. Life changes through habits, while motivation only visits for short moments. That truth sounds simple, yet it carries more power than people realize. Instead of chasing huge overnight success, a decision was made to focus on small daily actions. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme, just a few simple habits tested for 7 days. The result felt surprising. Energy improved, focus became sharper, mental noise became quieter. Even confidence started changing in ways that felt impossible to explain. In this video, you will discover the 5 habits that made a real difference in just 1 week. These are simple habits, yet the impact can feel much bigger than expected. Some of them are backed by science. Some are overlooked by almost everyone. One of them completely changed the way time and focus felt during the day. Another quietly reduced stress without expensive routines or complicated systems. Stay until the end because the final habit may be the one that changes the way you think about productivity and self-growth forever. Sometimes the smallest decisions create the biggest turning points, and 1 week can become the beginning of an entirely different life. Welcome to our channel, where we explore powerful ideas to help you grow, improve, and become stronger every single day. If you enjoy content that helps you level up your mindset in your life, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. Let us begin. The first habit sounded so small that it almost felt useless at the beginning. Waking up without touching the phone for the first hour of the day did not seem life-changing. In fact, it sounded too simple to matter. Yet this one habit quietly created one of the biggest shifts in only a few days. For many people, the morning begins the same way. The alarm rings, the eyes barely open, and within seconds the hand reaches for the phone almost automatically. One notification turns into 5. A quick check becomes 20 minutes of scrolling. News headlines create stress before the day even begins. Social media fills the mind with comparison. Messages create pressure. Suddenly, the brain feels busy before even getting out of bed. The strange thing about mornings is that they quietly shape everything that follows. Many people never realize how much their mood is being controlled before the day even starts. A single negative post can create irritation. Someone else's success story can quietly trigger self-doubt. Bad news can create tension without warning. All of this enters the mind during the first moments of waking up, when the brain is still highly sensitive and absorbing information faster than usual. After noticing this pattern, one simple decision changed everything. For the first hour after waking up, the phone stayed untouched. No social media, no messages, no random scrolling. At first, it felt uncomfortable. There was a strange urge to check updates, almost like something important was being missed. The silence felt unusual because distraction had become part of the morning routine without even realizing it. Instead of immediately entering the noise of the world, the first hour became quiet. Time was spent waking up slowly, drinking water, sitting with thoughts, stretching, or simply starting the day without endless digital information flooding the brain. Something surprising started happening after only a few days. Focus felt sharper. The mind stopped feeling scattered so early in the morning. There was less pressure and less mental noise. Even stressful situations during the day started feeling easier to handle. One overlooked truth about phones is that they often place other people's priorities ahead of your own. The moment notifications take control, attention begins moving in different directions before personal goals even get a chance. Energy slowly disappears without warning, and the day begins reacting instead of leading. By the end of the week, mornings felt calmer, anxiety felt quieter. The day no longer started with chaos. A simple habit created a different kind of feeling, one where the mind felt more present, more focused, and far less controlled by distraction. The second habit felt almost too ordinary to make a real difference. There was no expensive fitness program, no intense training plan, and no complicated challenge. It was something incredibly simple: daily walking and movement. At first, this did not seem powerful enough to create change in only 1 week. After all, many people connect improvement with hard workouts and extreme effort. Yet one hidden problem quietly affects millions of people every single day, and most barely notice it happening. Sitting too much slowly drains energy in ways that feel invisible. Modern life makes movement easy to avoid. Hours disappear sitting at a desk, scrolling on a phone, watching videos, or staying indoors for long periods. The strange part is that mental tiredness often feels like laziness when it is actually something deeper. The body stays still for too long, and the mind slowly starts paying the price. Thoughts feel heavier, focus becomes weaker, small tasks suddenly feel exhausting. Even motivation begins disappearing without any clear reason. At one point, there was a constant feeling of being mentally drained, even during days that did not seem physically demanding. Energy levels stayed low, concentration became harder, and the mood quietly shifted toward frustration. It felt confusing because technically nothing difficult was happening. Then a simple realization appeared. Maybe the problem was not overworking. Maybe the problem was barely moving at all. Instead of creating a complicated fitness plan that would probably feel impossible to maintain, the goal became simple. Just walk every day. Nothing extreme, no pressure to hit impossible goals. Just moving the body consistently, even for a short amount of time. Some days it was a quiet walk outside. Other days it meant walking without headphones, simply allowing thoughts to settle naturally. Something unexpected started changing after only a few days. Energy slowly returned. The heavy mental fog started fading. Thoughts felt clearer, almost like the brain finally had room to breathe again. Problems that felt overwhelming suddenly seemed easier to understand. Stress became quieter. Even the mood started improving in subtle ways that were hard to explain at first. There is something powerful about movement that most people underestimate. Walking creates space between stress and reaction. The body becomes active, and somehow the mind follows. Scientists have often linked regular movement with lower stress levels and better mental clarity. Yet many people still search for complicated solutions while ignoring one of the simplest tools available. By the end of the week, there was a noticeable shift: more energy during the day, better focus while working, a calmer state of mind. It became clear that movement affects mental health much faster than most people ever expect. The third habit felt surprisingly uncomfortable at first, mostly because it forced something many people spend years avoiding: facing their own thoughts. Writing thoughts down every day sounded simple, almost boring. It did not feel exciting or life-changing. Yet after only a few days, it became clear that one of the biggest reasons people feel mentally exhausted has less to do with life itself and more to do with the non-stop noise happening inside their own minds. Overthinking has a strange way of slowly stealing peace without people even noticing. One small problem turns into 10 different worries. A simple mistake suddenly feels bigger than it actually is. Future fears mix with past regrets, and before long, the mind becomes crowded with thoughts moving in every direction at once. The hardest part is that overthinking often disguises itself as productivity. It feels like problem solving, yet most of the time it only creates stress and confusion. There were days when the mind felt constantly busy, even during quiet moments. Thoughts repeated themselves over and over. Small worries stayed longer than they should. Goals felt unclear because everything seemed mixed together inside the head. Some decisions became harder than necessary simply because there was too much mental noise happening all at once. Sleep sometimes felt restless because the brain never fully slowed down. Then came a habit that felt almost too easy to matter: taking a few minutes each day to write things down. Nothing formal, no perfect structure, just thoughts on paper, worries, frustrations, goals, random ideas, and things causing stress. At first, it felt awkward. Some days there was uncertainty about what to even write. Other days, the words came faster than expected. Something strange started happening after only a short time. Problems that once felt huge suddenly looked smaller on paper. Thoughts that felt overwhelming became easier to understand. The mind slowly stopped carrying everything at once because there was finally somewhere for those thoughts to go. Instead of endlessly repeating worries mentally, they existed outside the head where they could actually be seen clearly. Many people underestimate how powerful writing can be because it feels too simple. Yet psychologists have often linked journaling with reduced stress and improved emotional clarity. Writing forces the brain to slow down. It creates structure out of confusion. A thought that feels overwhelming inside the mind often loses its power once written down. By the end of the week, there was more mental clarity than expected. Stress felt lighter. Decisions became easier because priorities felt clearer. The constant noise in the mind slowly started fading, replaced by a calmer feeling that made everyday life feel far less overwhelming. The fourth habit solved a problem that quietly creates frustration for so many people every single day. It is the strange feeling of being busy all the time while still feeling like nothing important is actually getting done. Hours pass, energy disappears, and by the end of the day, there is often an uncomfortable feeling that time was wasted somehow. Tasks were completed, messages were answered, distractions filled the gaps, yet the things that actually mattered stayed untouched. This cycle can feel exhausting because being busy and being productive are two very different things, even though people often confuse them. For a long time, days felt crowded but strangely empty at the same time. The to-do list kept growing. Small tasks constantly demanded attention. One thing interrupted another. Focus jumped from one problem to the next without any clear direction. By evening, there was usually mental exhaustion, but very little real progress. It felt frustrating because effort was there, but results were missing. The strange part was that the harder the attempt to stay productive became, the more overwhelming everything started to feel. At first, the solution seemed like it should involve doing more. Better apps, stricter routines, longer work hours, or complicated productivity systems, yet none of those things felt realistic for long. Eventually, something much simpler started making sense. Instead of trying to do everything, the goal became choosing only a few important tasks each day, just a small number of things that actually mattered. The plan was intentionally simple. Every morning, a short list was created with only the most important priorities. No impossible expectations, no overwhelming schedule packed with 20 different tasks, just clear focus on what would make the biggest difference if completed. Everything else became secondary. At first, there was hesitation because doing less sounded almost lazy. It felt strange to reduce the list when life already felt busy enough. Yet something unexpected happened. Focus improved almost immediately. There was less pressure because the day no longer felt impossible before it even started. Energy stopped getting wasted on random distractions because attention finally had direction. By only focusing on a few important things, progress started feeling real again. Tasks actually got finished instead of constantly being postponed. The overwhelming feeling slowly became quieter because there was no longer pressure to control everything at once. Even discipline started improving in ways that felt natural instead of forced. Many people struggle with consistency because they try to change too much at once. Huge plans often collapse under pressure, while simple systems are easier to repeat. A complicated routine creates stress, but simplicity creates momentum. After only 1 week, productivity felt higher, stress felt lower, and daily life started feeling more organized without becoming exhausting. The fifth habit started with an uncomfortable realization. A surprising amount of time was disappearing every single day without even being noticed. A few minutes of scrolling somehow turned into an hour. One video led to another. One post turned into endless distractions. At first, it felt harmless because scrolling had become such a normal part of everyday life. It felt relaxing, almost automatic. Yet by the end of the day, there was often a strange feeling of mental exhaustion mixed with frustration, as if energy had been spent but nothing valuable had been gained in return. The strange thing about endless scrolling is that it tricks the brain into feeling busy while quietly draining attention. Social media moves fast. Information comes non-stop. 1 second there is entertainment. The next second, bad news, comparison, opinions, arguments, and distractions, all fighting for attention at the same time. The mind absorbs far more than people realize, and after a while, focus starts feeling weaker. Motivation becomes harder to find. Thoughts become scattered. There came a moment when it became impossible to ignore how much mental energy was being wasted. Hours were being given to content that added almost nothing to life. The scary part was realizing how easy it had become to consume things mindlessly without even questioning whether they were useful or harmful. Time kept moving forward, yet growth felt slower. Instead of trying to completely remove entertainment or create unrealistic rules, one simple change was made. Some scrolling time was replaced with learning. Nothing extreme, no pressure to suddenly become obsessed with self-improvement. Just small moments spent reading useful ideas, listening to educational podcasts, or watching content that actually taught something valuable. Sometimes it was about productivity, other times it was mindset, psychology, habits, or learning how successful people think. At first, the difference felt small. It almost seemed too simple to matter, yet after only a few days, something started changing quietly. Thoughts felt sharper. Conversations became more interesting because there were fresh ideas to think about. Confidence slowly improved because learning creates a strange feeling of progress, even in small amounts. Instead of ending the day feeling mentally drained, there was a growing feeling that time had actually been spent on something meaningful. One of the most overlooked truths about personal growth is that people slowly become what they repeatedly consume. The brain absorbs patterns, beliefs, ideas, and habits from daily exposure. Endless negativity affects thinking. Constant comparison affects confidence. Yet useful knowledge quietly changes perspective over time. By the end of the week, the shift became noticeable. The mindset felt stronger. New ideas started appearing naturally. Confidence slowly grew because growth itself had quietly become part of the daily routine. There is a bigger truth hiding behind all of these habits, and most people miss it because they are searching for dramatic change. People often believe that transforming life requires massive effort, perfect timing, endless motivation, or one huge breakthrough moment. Yet, real change rarely arrives that way. More often, it begins quietly. Small actions repeated daily start shifting things in ways that almost feel invisible at first. One better decision leads to another. A tiny improvement slowly creates momentum. Then one day something feels different. The mind feels clearer, energy feels stronger, life starts moving in a direction that once felt impossible. The hardest part is that people usually quit before change has a chance to reveal itself. They expect instant results, they try to change everything at once. New routines begin with excitement but soon become overwhelming. Suddenly there are impossible goals, strict schedules, and pressure to become a completely different person overnight. That pressure becomes exhausting, and before long, everything falls apart. Then comes frustration, disappointment, and the quiet belief that lasting change simply is not possible. Yet maybe the problem has never been effort. Maybe the problem has always been trying to carry too much at the same time. Growth becomes easier when life stops feeling like a race. One small habit can quietly change an entire day. One better morning creates better focus. One short walk changes energy. One moment of reflection creates clarity. One decision to learn instead of scroll slowly changes the way the mind works. There is something powerful about consistency that people rarely talk about. Small actions may feel meaningless in the beginning because results are hard to see immediately, yet every habit works quietly in the background, shaping thoughts, emotions, and daily behavior. Progress often looks boring before it becomes powerful. The strongest changes are usually the ones happening slowly enough that people barely notice until they stop and realize how far they have come. You do not need to rebuild your entire life in one day. You do not need perfect discipline or endless motivation. Starting small is often the smarter path because small actions are easier to repeat. Choosing just one habit can create more change than chasing 10 different goals all at once. Think about how different life could start feeling after only 1 week of consistency. Waking up calmer, feeling less mentally exhausted, thinking more clearly, having more control over time and attention, feeling slightly stronger, slightly more focused, slightly more confident every day. Small shifts may seem ordinary in the beginning, yet sometimes ordinary actions quietly create extraordinary change when given enough time. At the end of the day, real change rarely begins with huge decisions or dramatic moments. It usually starts with something small, something easy to ignore, a better morning, a short walk, a few minutes of writing, a simple plan, choosing growth over endless distraction. These habits may seem unimportant today, almost too small to matter, yet repeated every single day, they quietly begin shaping the person you become. The truth is, your future is often built through tiny choices that seem ordinary in the present moment. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect time to improve their lives. They wait for motivation, they wait for confidence, they wait until they feel ready, yet growth rarely works that way. The biggest difference often comes from simply starting before everything feels perfect. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. You do not need to master all 5 habits at once. Start with one, just one habit from this video. Stay consistent with it for the next 7 days and pay attention to what changes. Sometimes one small action creates momentum powerful enough to change everything that follows. 1 week may sound short, yet a lot can happen when you stop working against yourself and start building habits that actually support the life you want. Better focus, more calmness, clearer thinking, stronger discipline, more confidence. These things grow slowly, then suddenly feel impossible to live without. 1 week from now, you can either stay exactly where you are or become someone your future self will thank you for. Now I want to hear from you. Which habit are you going to start first? Let us know in the comments below. If this video helped you in any way, make sure to like this video because it helps more people discover content like this. And if you want more powerful self-improvement videos designed to help you grow mentally, emotionally, and financially, subscribe to our channel and join us on this journey of becoming better every single day. Until next time, take care and start your day one today.